shit.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm Antonio Perez, joined as always by Danny Code, DC, Penn's finest, Chris Coacher, CB Coacher Boy. We got another great episode for you guys today. We really hope you enjoyed the holidays, of course. We're here to recap Week 17 in the NFL. Pretty simple. We had lots of football, Christmas games, Thursday night football games, Saturday games, Sunday games, and we have a Monday game tonight that we'll probably talk about on next episode for a little bit if it garners any entertainment. But
yeah, it was supposed to mean a lot more, but it happened out. It didn't.
Yeah. Maybe before the season, you're looking at this game and you're like, oh, this could be one seed, but it's actually between a team that's not in the playoffs and a team that's actually still going for the one seed. But regardless, before we get into anything, we want to remind you guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those post notifications so you don't miss a single upload. And if you're listening to this on audio platforms, leave a like, leave a download if you enjoyed it. Follow the show, whatever helps push the algorithm. But we can swing it to Danny for summits and plummets.
Yeah. I think my plummet is going to be that the regular season has one more week. It feels like football flew by this year. It does every year.
Yeah.
But I think it's a clear plummet. Like right after Christmas, like every summer's winding down. You're like, football's back. You're hyped. The holidays start rolling around. You're like so excited because the playoffs are coming in town. But then you're like, you feel this kind of regret. You're like, dang, we only got 4 weeks left of this. It's kind of sad. But
yeah, it's even worse when really you only have 2. But
I care about the game.
I'm throwing jokes. I'm throwing jokes. We all love any type of football.
I'm in it for the love of the game.
Exactly. That's what it's all about, and that's what we should be doing.
And the most obvious summit of all time is King LeBron Raymond
James Sr. Oh boy.
It's his birthday. Shout out to him. One of 20 players NBA all time to play into the 40s, something like that.
Something like that. I mean, forget the NBA. We're looking at a top 3 human of all time. We have Jesus Christ. We have
Abe Lincoln and LeBron James.
I got Bron over Lincoln.
But without Lincoln, there is no Bron.
That's fair. Think about this. If Bron was on Abe's army, it wouldn't even have been close. LeBron would have terrorized the Confederacy. He would have got in transition, spearheaded the group. Come on now. LeBron would have been a beast. If in the Revolutionary War, if George Washington had LeBron on his side, they would have been the favorites. They wouldn't have been this mass underdog that everyone is talking about. They would be the favorites, and they still would have won. Don't get it wrong, but it's not looked at upon like, oh, these 13 colonies, they beat a Great Britain, and no, it would have been poor Great Britain. They had to go against LeBron James at war. Y'all saw him crossing the river. He looked like George Washington going over the Delaware. Absolute beast. I put in like a borderline love letter on my story for him. Hope everyone got to read that. Hope you read all of it too. It took me all but like 5 minutes to type that up. Hell yeah, though. We can go to Chris though.
I think that was just so funny. The summit for me is that tomorrow I'll be driving to Oklahoma City for the Oklahoma City versus Timberwolves game. Going into New Year's Eve, so that's exciting. And then we're going to what's it called? Melting pot. Cook your own food, which
God, it's so fun. It's so good, dude.
Yeah, Danny. Yeah. But let me tell you this. I'm just not excited to go pay to make my own food. I swear I can make it for free at home. But I will say this. I had Korean barbecue before, and I made
K-barbecue so fire.
Elite.
Like hot pot? You ever had hot pot? Yeah.
It was something like that. Probably the janky version, but it is something like that. It was
they give you like a pot of like a broth or something, and then
you
get the
bingo. So I've done that one, and I've done the one where they give you like the cooker.
That's K barbecue. That's more K barbecue.
Yeah. I've done that one too. So just overall, I'm looking forward to that. Just because I haven't been to melting pot yet, and I heard a lot of good things about it, so I'm excited about that part of it, and seeing the game, seeing Shea versus Anthony Edwards. I'm excited about that. So yeah, that's my summit.
You
Double
mean
summit.
Shifty Rob versus Alex Crusoe?
No, unfortunately,
Shifty Rob.
it'll be the real Jalen Williams versus Minot. Minott. I don't even know how much he plays, but I'll be there. And then my other summit is that after today, I'm off work until the rest of the week because I kind of finessed it to where, and y'all, everybody who's listening, I only took 4 days PTO, ended up getting 12 days off. If y'all need a tutorial, need the book on how to do it, I got you. Yeah, that's my two summits. I'm looking forward to the time off and looking forward to spending New Year's and New Year's Eve in New Year's Day and New Year's Eve in Oklahoma City.
So me and Danny actually thought, I think this was yesterday Chris, when LeBron retires, what team are you a fan of?
That I've been thinking about that, bro, for the longest because I've been telling everybody
He's
for the longest.
contemplating a new team like he's contemplating retirement.
Yes, bro. I don't have a team. I keep hoping, bro, put it off for another year so the Hornets could get good, so I can just like the Hornets. But I don't want to be rooting for Misic and Tijon's hair salon, dude. So I don't want that. So I'm trying to wait it out and see what happens.
You could come cheer for the closest thing you'll get to a Swiss Army wing who can score at will.
George Niang?
Assist a game. Elite rebounder, elite defender, a champion, an MVP caliber player.
Oh, this is definitely Aaron Gordon. Got it.
Giannis.
Yeah.
I'm hearing Giannis.
Bucks
fan.
You're hearing Jason Tatum. It's about as a small forward, power forward, it's about the closest thing you're going to get to Miami LeBron.
Well, first and foremost,
Tatum doesn't have the best championship you can get.
Unfortunately,
I'm sure, right? And who does?
In-season tournament.
Unfortunately, Deuce Tatum will be better than his father. I seen him playing one-on-one with
He's so bad.
Kid. No, but it's okay.
We're judging a 7-year-old's basketball skills.
What I'm telling y'all is,
Danny, should we look at you play basketball now?
Al Horford's son looks way older than Jason Tatum's kid, and he doesn't look that much more better than him in basketball. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm saying.
He's gonna get right. I bet Tatum probably looked that way because he's double jointed when he was younger. So we'll figure it out. But yes, Jason Tatum is the closest thing we have to Miami LeBron at the wing position. And I fear that it's not a hot take.
Not the person Jaylen Brown is better than Tatum, not him.
That's Sports Illustrated Player of the Year, Jaylen Brown to you.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
How did he even win that? Like, not to say the Finals MVP is like not a big accolade, but that's the only thing he did this year.
Mr. Vic should be.
Was it male athlete or player as a whole?
I think it might have been like NBA Player of the Year or Basketball Player of the Year, something like that.
That's probably valid. If you get Finals MVP, because that's like the top.
You could give it to the dude who won a championship, first team All NBA, third straight, by the way, gold medal.
Yeah, you could.
See, if Tatum had like a respectable like Olympic run, it wouldn't be close. But because he had to come in the first man to ever win a championship and then have a revenge season, so yeah, that goes like that. My summit was going to be, well, it still is, of course, LeBron's birthday, but Danny kind of led that off with us, so I won't try to spill too much. Real summit though, I got caught up, or I'm almost caught up on the first two Sonic movies, and I'm really hoping to see the third one like really soon, because I like Sonic as a young boy, and I'm like kind of getting back into it. So definitely want to go see that third movie, but I gotta get caught up first, and then you know what? We'll go double summit because I said this before the show started. I just had some really good like sushi. Don't sleep on your local grocery stores like food court. Their homemade stuff
does a trick.
Not only does it does the trick, it's better than some chain restaurants. Not the broken down homemade, like, you know, you might get mugged while you're trying to go get your, you know, crab rangoon. But I don't know. Every time I go into Giant, I'm doing grocery shopping and I'm getting sushi. But I be looking at the mac and cheese they have present in that food court. I'm like, yo, who do y'all have back there? They have to have some grandma with a little bit of like the underarm fat. She got to be back there making the mac and cheese because it doesn't look bad. I'll never get it, but it looks pretty good. But nonetheless, enough about Giants mac and cheese, we can talk about on every single episode, you will see me wearing some kind of hat, whether it's a snapback, whether it's a dad style hat. I always got to have something to complete the outfit. And the only place where I get my hats is lids.com. Lids.com has so many different brands, and of course, they have a bunch of different styles. Like I just said, it could be dad hat, snapback, it could be fitted, it could be Velcro back. Whatever you want, they got it. And with the NFL season coming up, I know you're going to want to rock and represent your favorite squad. Me personally, I'm a big Eagles guy, and I love this 47 brand throwback hat that I got from lids.com. Or if you're more of a snapback guy, I also got this NBA champions Boston Celtics new era cap from lids.com as well. If you like either of those hats and you feel like you want one to represent your squad, click the link in the description below. Whether it's new era or 47, both links will take you right to lids.com. And the best thing about Lids, they always have some type of deal going on their website. So make sure you click that link and check out any deals they got going on at lids.com. Week 17 slate. And I kind of wanted to just highlight some of like the bigger games from the weekend instead of going in order per se. But I actually did want to start with the Christmas Day games, and then we can go from there. Let's start with the Chiefs-Steelers game. So the Steelers offense, pretty bland. Chiefs just seem to have their number. But what I really want to talk about is the Chiefs kind of, especially over the past couple weeks, I think Mahomes is now up to, 11 touchdown passes, no picks. He's starting to roll into form. In the past 2 weeks since Hollywood Brown's come back, Xavier Worthy looks like he's come back into form. The run game is pretty sturdy between Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, which I really do still like the pickup of Kareem Hunt. I would say he's even looked better than Pacheco. Granted, Pacheco's been, coming off injury. I'm sure he'll start to roll around 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now because they have the bye. They just look exactly how they did last year, where they were practically unbeaten the entire year, but weren't really amazing anybody. And then they're clearly starting to get into a flow of things. So I guess here's a question I have for you guys. Weird question about a 15-1 team. How confident are you guys in the Kansas City Chiefs heading into the postseason?
Confident to do what?
The only thing that matters to them, the three-peat.
I give
on a level 1 to 10. 10 is they're for sure three-peating. 1 is they're gonna lose like in the divisional round. What are we feeling?
I give them 50% chance right now, and I think it's a level 7.5. That's more I feel for the Chiefs. They haven't done anything special this year that makes me be like, hey, the Chiefs have they're winning games, but winning games doesn't tell the story. Winning games is the only thing that matters at the end of the day. But how you win games often translates to playoff results. So, blocking a field goal to win the game would be awesome to do in the Super Bowl. They just did it last year to send them to overtime. Can it happen again? Maybe. But, you don't want to rely on that. So, it's I have faith that they have all the talent you need. Looking at their team, you're like, wow, Hollywood Brown, he's healthy. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the 2010 decade.
They still got it a little bit.
He still got it a little bit. Travis Kelce's probably just an average weapon on this team at this point. He's awesome.
I would say he even more than Mahomes. I think Kelce is starting to get back at least into the security blanket, Jason Witten type of tight end that he was towards the end of last season.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because their offense is actually finally turning it around, yet they still haven't had a 30-point output. It's often criticized Tom Brady how his defense have carried him to Super Bowls. But it's to win a Super Bowl, you have to have a good team, not a good offense, not a good defense, but a good team. So I think that's where Brady and Mahomes need to cut a little slack. Defenses need to be good. They don't need to be all-time great, but if an offense, you're going to have to understand both sides of the ball are going to be good, or it would be a generational carry job, which can happen. So
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just how I feel.
Mahomes is capable.
Yeah, I mean, we saw his first run.
Even in the Eagles Super Bowl, his defense still let up 35 points.
Yeah, but I was saying in the first run, they went down to the Texans immediately by 24.
Yeah, that defense was not good. That wasn't a good defense like at all.
Like
They were down double digits in every single game, but granted, to the defense basically only took like aside from the Texans game, like the Titans, they just had to get one stop and Mahomes going to get it back in the game. With the Niners, they just had to get one stop and Mahomes is going to get it back in the game. So, Chris, what do you feel about the Chiefs? I know it. We've all witnessed the Brady era. It's kind of like, oh yeah, they're on their shenanigans all year, and then they lock in. Are you feeling any different, or is this starting to feel like that starting to feel like the Brady Belichick Patriots, where it's like, yeah, they're not. It's not over until I see them, like until the dirt is over their casket.
For me, I would say a 6. And the only reason why I say a 6, I know it seems probably a little low for a team that's 15-1, is because the same thing. And it's funny the reason why. It's like the opposite reason I've been saying all year as to why they may make the Super Bowl, because they've been pulling out these close games and just games that they I wouldn't say shouldn't win, but they just finding ways to win. Like if that continues, and like I said, even though they've been routing into form, they still have had to do that. I just think at some point that runs out. And I mean, I have no other analytics telling me that besides just my thought process on just so many close calls. And I think they get into another one, they just may not be able to do it. But then again, they do have the best player not named Justin Jefferson or Lamar Jackson in the NFL. So with Patrick Mahomes, anything's possible. But I just think that just worries me a little bit, because I think usually you would see dominance in the Chiefs, even if they are close. And I don't think they really dominated anyone this year. So that's why it kind of feels a little different to me than the other runs. Because I feel like even though they may have had slip-ups during the other Super Bowl runs, they still felt dominant to me when needed to. And I haven't really felt them be dominant just yet. So that's really it. But like I said, I can still see them winning it 100%. Would not be surprised. But that's the one thing that kind of alarms me for them.
Yeah. I would say I probably feel about I would probably say like an 8 or 9. The biggest difference, I guess, between them and like the Bills and the Ravens is that the Bills and Ravens have lost some like really dumb ones that they shouldn't have lost, and the Chiefs, I would just rather take them winning a whole bunch of ugly ones than losing the ones that they have no business losing. But I would say like an 8. I think they should easily be winning at least a playoff game. If not, they should find themselves in the Super Bowl. Will they be able to beat an Eagles, a Lions, a Vikings team? I don't know entirely at the moment. I feel confident in them getting to the Super Bowl. The three-peat, not entirely too confident in, but we can move to the other side of things, I guess, of this game, which is the Steelers, where they haven't looked great. Danny, has anything changed? Was it just this is the first game Pickens was back, so we couldn't necessarily get him in a groove? What can the Steelers do, at least in Week 18, to give themselves some more confidence heading into the playoffs?
Rest their starters.
And take the loss, even though the
No.
Chargers might win and you get Baltimore round 1.
I don't think they care if they play round 1. I mean, you want to win. I don't think they care if they play.
I think I think that's just
okay.
Looking at who your two opponents could be.
You want to play Texans. I agree.
So you should win.
They will play that game very specifically depending on what happens in the Ravens game in the early slate. If the Ravens lose, they're going to play everyone and they're going to try basically play a playoff game, which the Ravens could lose, but it's the Browns, and the Browns are playing for the number 1 overall pick potentially, so would be an idiot to do. We saw the Giants do it, so I'm not going to put it past anyone. But
okay,
going to the Steelers game, when it comes down to it, if they win, they're guaranteeing themselves to either home playoff game against the Chargers or on the road in Houston, which is probably the most ideal situation at this point with a you shut down Nico Collins and the team gets nowhere essentially. So that's the most ideal situation. I will say I think their defense is underrated. Their D line is very good, but their secondary in Texas and Houston can make some noise.
You have Lassiter and you have Stingley. It's just kind of the safety play, at least in coverage, isn't necessarily great. But yeah, I think the Steelers should go for the win, and we'll talk a little bit more about this other team. But I think on top of that, you don't want Cincinnati to get into playoffs. Even if you might have no business even seeing them, you don't even want to take the chance at this rate. If I'm Pittsburgh,
I mean, the only time they would see him would be in the AFC Championship game.
Exactly, but you never know what kind of run you can go on. And if you're Kansas City, that also kind of is like their Week 18 thing is like, okay, but if we just let Denver win, that'll put Cincinnati in the playoffs. So, most
And
likely
Buffalo would do unspeakable things to Denver.
I was going to say Cincinnati, at least with the Bengals, it's like they have the firepower to probably go shot for shot with Josh Allen. Denver, not so much.
You're going to need Troy Franklin to have a couple more of those catches like he did send him to overtime.
Yeah, or that was I thought that was Mims on the
Mims. It might have been Mims. Franklin.
Yeah, it was Mims on the double coverage one. I will give Bose credit. That one deep post route, the post corner or corner post, that was a die. I can't lie. But let's go to the second Christmas game. Houston looks like an absolute mess. But Chris, how encouraging was it to see the Ravens going into playoff team's territory, regardless of how banged up they are, and I think put up a score that is nearly worse than a shutout. 31-2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 31-2. The Texans had a total of 185 yards of offense, 211 yards of offense. They were 4 of 11 on 4 of 15 on third down, and a lot of that came in garbage time.
Yep. The Ravens had 432 yards of total offense, 251 rushing yards between Lamar and Derrick Henry and the other backs that got a carry.
My goat, Rasheen Ali. That's my guy.
I will say a lot of the yardage came from Derrick Henry. This guy just
Lamar. Okay, here's the crazy thing about Lamar. Lamar had 4 carries for 87 yards.
I mean, it was that 160-yard touchdown.
He's about a third of it. He was about a third of that. That's fair.
Lamar Jackson's the fastest player in the NFL when he runs his full speed. I'm trying to tell y'all.
He doesn't run.
I
never runs.
It was crazy. I 100% agree.
Not even gassing, not even glazing. I think dude might be the fastest player if he ever ran full speed. Like I promise to God. But
I don't think he can cut. I don't think he trusts himself to cut at full speed. So he knows he goes 80%. He's still faster than everyone.
Yeah, possibly.
I think that's fair. I think that's definitely one way to think about it. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, because he might be the fastest guy. But I will say this. I think the thing that made me most happy about that game, from a fan's perspective, is more of what I talked about last week. It's just the defense in reality. Like I'm not surprised that this offense putting up numbers. Or yards. I'm not surprised at that anymore. Because like I said, I've seen Lamar do it without Derrick Henry and without Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman doing anything. So that doesn't really surprise me. I think the part that makes me feel as good as this rolling into the playoffs or getting closer to it. The defense is playing better and better. Now, of course, you have a Texans team that's missing weapons. Joe Mixon didn't look good in that game either. He looked slow or injured. I don't know what. He looked something. He didn't look right, I'll say. But even no matter who you're in front of, the defense didn't allow any points in reality. So them kind of pitching the shutout in that way and the way it happened, it just looked like a dominant performance. So that was probably the thing I took most from, was just it looked like a dominant performance that we needed going into a playoff run with the team you can possibly see, depending on what happens. I'm sure it's not a good chance to do it, but you just never know with a team in your conference. So I think that's probably just what I take away from there. The offense looked good enough, but I think the defense is really what it's been. I think everyone, since moving Kyle back to where he belongs-ish, the defense has been so much better, and I think he's helped every piece of that defense. Marlon's been making bigger plays. I think it's just hopefully everyone round into form going to a playoff push.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
I do think teams have forgotten Trenton Simpson can be exposed.
Yeah.
What we saw at midseason was the Ravens linebackers being thrown at them being exposed. Teams haven't done that. Number one, it's because the Ravens are blitzing more, I believe, and they're sending more pressure and getting more pressure naturally with Van Noy and all these other edges like Ojabo. So that's part of it. And like you said, moving Hamilton back there is just that helps. So putting Simpson on an island by himself in the middle of the field and saying go guard one of the best player, it's not going to be a good outcome if they do it in the playoffs. So I think you need Kyle Hamilton to step up and play that zone.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton, he's in a similar way to Simmons coming out of college. It's like I think they got so caught up and he's so good at a lot of things. Where the difference between these two is Simmons wasn't necessary. I don't think he was great at anything. Kyle Hamilton is a great safety. And that's where I think he needs to belong. Like he's one of the best box safeties in the league, and maybe on like evident run situations, let him go play in the box. But in the playoffs, you don't want to make it so obvious. They've been excellent in coverage. They're like all the way. They're almost all the way back on defense, and even against a banged up Texans team, that's still one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. Nico Collins, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Dalton Schultz, very solid tight end. And that offense did nothing all day. Could not move the ball. It was a pathetic outcome. It really was. But we can move on to the Saturday games.
Yeah,
this one we can keep.
I do want to say one thing.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I want to say one thing about the Texans before you go, Danny. I think the thing that scared me the most about the Texans, it looked like they just discombobulated. Like playing bad is one thing, but they look like they're not on the same page, or not saying they have like infight or anything, but like maybe they're just not understanding what's going on. Because I've seen like I said, the Ravens play pretty good defense. I do think so, but there was some blunders out there, like missed block, like O-line missed block. I know that the offensive line hasn't been great all year, but just so many missed assignments. Like Van Noy's been good rushing the passer this year. He was even better last year, but some of the sacks he got, I think one of the two sacks he got, it was insane. Like it was just, he was literally ran straight through, and I've seen that happen to CJ Stroud a lot of times the last 3 weeks. So I think if quick playoff exit seems like what's coming, if they do get in there and end up making it, I mean, I think they are in regardless.
Yeah, they won the division.
Yeah. So I think they'll be.
Someone had to win the division. So
I think a quick playoff run could teach them an important lesson. I think they have more to work on than they may have thought with how good CJ Stroud was year one.
I do think two things. CJ Stroud missed a lot of balls in that game. He was missing receivers. He was part of the issue. Let's not discount the blame. He was part of the issue.
Absolutely.
And then I did want to rabbit hole a little bit back to the Steelers playoffs thing. So what I wanted to say is that if Bengals win in week 18, it makes the Steelers potentially avoid the Chiefs and the Bills until the AFC Championship game.
That is true. Again, I think it'll, like you said earlier, I think it's going to come down to whether the Browns are feeling the tank job or not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Browns could.
They could win. Players do not care about that tank job. The only time I've openly witnessed a tank job was Doug Peterson pulling Jalen Hurts in a one-score game against the Commanders.
They weren't.
That almost felt like screwing the Giants more than landing the 10th overall pick. To be entirely honest,
they didn't gain anything. The Giants. The 12th pick or 10th pick, whatever.
Yeah, like what is it? You were getting Devontae Smith or Micah Parsons, regardless. So,
which is nuts to think about.
Yeah, it's just like wow, you're getting the Heisman or you're getting a top 5 defender in football. Wow. Doug Peterson realized he couldn't lose. Screw the
Micah
Giants.
Parsons had locker room bad character.
For everyone's sake, do not look up Micah Parsons' Penn State locker room. Why is it my team that has all the freaky allegations? But
Micah Parsons' locker room. Just search up Penn State locker rooms. Don't search it up.
Don't search anything about Penn State. Just know they have a budding young quarterback and they're on their way to the semifinals.
Freak Valley.
Assuming they take care of business against a group of 5 team. But nonetheless, we can get to these Saturday games though. This one we can kind of keep relatively short. the Chargers destroy the Patriots in the ultimate fleece job of trading up to get Ladd McConkey, and there was another one that they drafted. But regardless, Ladd McConkey put up on Saturday what Jalen Polk has all season. So that's got to sting for the Patriots, assuming Ladd's a Patriots type of receiver, if that makes sense. And Herbert and the vertical passing game looked amazing. The run game was good, even with Dobbins being questionable heading into the game. Defense was absolutely on one, of course, against the worst O-line in football. And despite all that, Drake May just still looks good to me. I don't know. He's still him and Caleb behind these horrible lines. I think Drake May doesn't do as many like stupid things as Caleb does, which was kind of the opposite in college. But yeah, the Chargers are on an absolute like steamroll into the playoffs, and this is the best case scenario they could have had. A 10-win season in the first year of Jim Harbaugh, all because they decided to take the tackle first, and then knowing that there's a boatload of weapons in this draft that we can figure that out later, but let's shore up Herbert's protection, get him all opposite of Slater. He's been essentially untouched around the edge this year. They're probably going to shore up the middle of the line in this upcoming draft of free agency, and then T. Higgins is going to look absolutely gorgeous in baby blue. But we'll figure that out then. Let's move on to Let's move on to T. Higgins said team. Bengals Broncos. What are your real thoughts about a Bengals team that may squeak into the playoffs?
The defense not good enough to hold up. I think Joe Burrow can put up 70 points. I said that as a troll way, but I really do think Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and T. Higgins in enough time can put up 70 points if they had to. But I think the defense will give up 71. Like, I don't think they can stop anybody. And it's not even – they have players over there too. Like Henderson solid. Cam Taylor-Britt does turn his head around, unlike Brandon Stevens. So he does something good. So I'll say I don't know, but I think they're terrifying, though, in the simple fact that I think you were kind of saying, like, kind of inching at it to Danny. I don't want to see him. As a Ravens fan, I don't want to see the Bengals because I don't want to have to deal with T against Jamar Chase and Esovas. I think Chase. I'm tired of him. Every time he pops up, he's getting a touchdown. Every time.
I've been on him for a while.
I don't want to deal with it. I want to deal with it.
I told Tony when he came out. I told Tony when this guy coming out of the draft. I say Andre Yosivas going to be one of the demons of the league.
You're right.
And it's so hard to take Danny seriously because he's just going to hype up any Ivy League dude.
Of course.
So it's just like, all right, Danny, I'm sure.
So
it turns out this dude's warranted. So
Chris, he was a track athlete in college too. He was a two-sport athlete.
Damn. And dude's kind of tall, right? Am I tripping?
Yeah, he's 6'3". He's 6'3".
Yeah, dude.
6'3".
Every time he pops on my screen, bro, you know what he is? He's Isaiah Likely of the Bengals. Every once in a while, Isaiah Likely does nothing for 3 quarters. Now I know he makes a crazy catch and it's like one catch for 30 yards, touchdown. That's who he is. So saying that to say, I don't want to see the Bengals in any way, shape, or form. Hopefully Chase Brown is okay. But I don't want to see them in any way, shape, or form. I think their offense is just ridiculous. And it only takes it takes the defense to have one good day out of 7. If they can have one Sunday, the Bengals can win that game and go on. So that's why they terrify me.
Yeah, I think this season alone, they've given the Chiefs a scare with this same defense. They nearly knocked off the Chiefs.
Wait, did we miss the Thursday night game? I forgot. We can go to that after this.
It was Seahawks, Bears.
That's fair.
Yeah,
pretty bad game.
I mean, we'll loop around to how much the Seahawks like don't deserve to be in the playoffs, but back to this game. So the Bengals, they nearly knocked off the Chiefs. This one, this is going to be a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda, but they almost beat the Ravens twice. In an absolute shootout with the Ravens. Chris kind of know one thing different happens to that game, and Joe Burrow and them walk out with a win. But that's not what happens. And the Steelers absolutely like ransacked their crib without like some late touchdowns. But they'll play again, depending if the Steelers play the starters or not, whatever it may be. It's just like this Bengals team. I kind of agree with Chris. It's kind of like the defense. My thing is, I don't even think the defense needs to have a good day. I just think they need to have like a good moment. Like if it's 28-28 in the middle of the third quarter against the Bills, Josh Allen isn't immune to just arm punt. Lamar Jackson isn't immune to fumbling the ball. That's probably one of my only criticism on Lamar
Oh,
Jackson.
if you reach by that right arm and that ball is in his hand, it's hitting the ground.
Yep.
It's going to hit the ground, 100%.
Yeah, and Mahomes is a little bit of both. Where Mahomes doesn't take the arm punt ones, he's just a very misfortunate man who gets the ball batted at the line and then it's up for grabs. But that's kind of my thing with the Bengals. But you're at this point because this is the kind of team you are, is you have the Monstars on offense, but then you decide to pick your local high school football team to go play defense for you, with the exception of Trey Hendrickson. So, I would personally, like, if I were on your guys' side of the bracket, I really wouldn't want to see them. I don't know if I would. Sorry, I don't know if I would pick them to beat the Bills. Probably wouldn't, because I trust the Bills defense a little bit more, even though they've let up a lot of points as of late. But I don't know. Danny, do you have any words about the Bengals?
Yeah, I think the Bengals are a top 7 seed in the AFC. Will they make the playoffs? I think that's to be seen. They don't even control their own destiny because the Dolphins do.
Yeah, that is true. The Colts have lost one, so that's one thing that the Bengals can check off of their bucket list. Miami still has to lose. Lucky for them, or maybe not. I don't know what the panel here will say, but Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley will be most likely starting next week.
Are you ready for Dolphins Bills round 1 in Buffalo with Tyler Huntley starting?
All I'm
gonna
say is Tyler Huntley did put up 20 points yesterday. He did. Tyreek Hill had the best output of the year almost. All I'm gonna say.
That is true. That is true.
Who are they playing?
That is true.
Myles Garrett and company.
Yeah. Snoop went 22 for 26, 225 yards. Pick or a touchdown, no picks, no fumbles. Hill did have his best day. Achane didn't have a good day though, so I don't care. Rob.
That's because Myles Garrett exists.
But yeah. Let's talk about the Broncos though. Broncos are the current slated, winning in team. They'll be playing the Chiefs.
Carson Wentz.
They'll be playing the Chiefs backups. And
Noah Gray, Carson Wentz, hell of a team.
Yeah. I think Noah Gray might be a little too good to play in this game, if you ask me. But
he might be, but he has to play. Like, they have to play a tight end.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm pretty sure they have more than 2 tight ends on the roster.
I guess that's fair. He'll probably get snaps though.
I don't know. I thought he's been very valuable. I thought he's been almost as valuable at that position as Kelsey has been. Well, Kelsey's a much better blocker. Let's not get it twisted. But nonetheless, the Broncos are, despite this horrendous loss, they're in a good scenario. They're winning in against the Chiefs, but even in this game, it's like you only put up 24 points on the Bengals with overtime. That's rough. That's very rough. Bo Nix, outside of that superhuman throw deep down the middle, I thought he was just relatively unimpressive. He threw a pick into double coverage. He gave the Bengals multiple chances in overtime where a tie would have put the Bengals out. So you really just had to take care of the football. I was just very unimpressed with the Broncos. They're lucky enough that they get to play a Chiefs team who is playing their backups. Now, I can't say that they're telling their backups to go lose this one so the Bengals get screwed. I don't know if they care that much, but I can't say I see Carson Wentz winning a meaningless football game. So it seems like I feel as if the three of us, we might have higher hopes or higher we think highly of the Bengals, whereas the Broncos, especially with the way they've been down the stretch, it's kind of like, yeah, if they get into the playoffs, they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, I wish I could take the Broncos and swap them with the Bengals and just keep some of the cool players from the Broncos that I like. Because it was good to see their story this year. It was cool to see Bo Nix play well, but I think they're getting thrashed by any team that they play. And I think it's just unfortunate because they may be a year or two early. in reality. I think that could be it, or they could just be just an overachieving year, and it could be back to not being as great next year. But I think they don't fit in this year's playoff picture. I think it should. If I could pick, I'd go Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, Jackson, Stroud, and then maybe somebody else. I just don't think the Broncos are going to be able to compete with any team in that playoff format. That's my opinion.
Yeah. What I was gonna say something. So with the Broncos, if they end up collapsing and they don't make the playoffs, even if they do with a 10-7 record, let's say they finish the year 9-8, 10-7, whatever it is, and they get first rounded, where that may be seen as a collapse. I kind of don't want to feel that way about them, though. It's like we expect them to win 5 games this year, not even. And here they are duking out for a playoff spot. It's just that you had it in your grasp so hard and you managed to just like fumble it. And it's like, it's hard not to look at that way. But on the other side of the bracket, you had the Commanders who were slowly starting to slip. It slowly started to look like a collapse. And then you could think, oh, well, for their expectations, it's no big deal. But they rallied. Philly came into their house. They beat Philly, regardless of what happened to the quarterback situation. They beat Philly despite turning the ball over 5 times. And then they win an absolute thriller last night against a Falcons team that's fighting for their playoff lives. Which that Commanders win put the Rams in the playoffs. But
the Eagles want to see the Packers more than the Commanders.
I disagree because I know how good Jordan Love can get. He didn't play like the greatest game yesterday. He played bad for about 55 minutes of it.
Toyotathon is over.
Well, his play translated into the playoffs last year.
I know.
I know. I think I'd rather see Washington. Even in the game that we lost, that was a very much winnable game, assuming we'll have Jalen Hurts. We could roll out Pickett and Tanner McKee again. I still feel like I would like our chances with the way our defense was playing, assuming we have Gardner Johnson as well. He doesn't get himself kicked out. But, and then what was the last Saturday game?
It was Kella Witherspoon game-winning interception.
There we go.
Rams, Cardinals. That's why you said the
Rams win like their third straight horrendous game, but they win, and they are NFC West champions. And that's another thing. Like the Cardinals are kind of. I would just say the Cardinals are kind of like the Kings of. They have low expectations going into the year, and then they raise them by being good through like 12 games, and then they collapse. Now it looks like a collapse. Now Kyler Murray's not a franchise guy, and then this, and that. But yeah, I was just saying they're a really weird team. Danny, you can go ahead with what you just say. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
A few weeks ago, I was one of the people saying, what if this Rams team runs the table? What if they have this easy schedule? What if they go win out and then they get a home playoff game against the Commanders, against the Packers? I like the Rams against the Packers, man. If the Packers get the 6th seed, I like the Rams.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more. The only teams capable of beating the Packers are the top dogs. They're the only teams capable of beating them. If you're not the Lions, the Eagles, or the Vikings, I think you're fresh meat for them. I really do.
I think the Rams could be considered a top dog on offense.
That's the problem. That's one side of the ball. And they aren't. I would completely disagree. I don't think they're top dogs when it comes to offense. Their past couple games have just been absolutely like they put up 13 points against a Cardinals defense. They put up 19 on the Jets. They put up 12 on the Niners. They scored 44 on the Bills, but it was 21 before that, 20, 28, 15, 26, 30. It is at best a sporadic offense, in my opinion. And it kind of comes down to that Cooper Kupp has just not been that level of receiver this year. Where the idea of him and Puka together is greatness. Puka's holding up his end of the bargain because he's been wide receiver 1 the moment he touched down in LA. But Coop has kind of not looked that way ever since he got hurt last year. So that's just me. I personally think the Packers would invite a Rams matchup. But nonetheless, they are in though. The Rams are in. They have currently the 3 seed, and I'm not sure if they have any tiebreakers over the Bucks. But at the moment, they will be slated to play the Commanders, and the Eagles will be playing the Packers. So, I'll say if we had no other words about that, we could go to the Sunday slate.
Let's get into it.
What game do we want to start with?
Let's start off with the Giants ruining their chance of getting Shadir Sanders.
Yeah, that was something. Yeah, they have virtually no shot at getting the 1 seed now. They need like 3 other teams to win, and they need to lose. The losing part might be hard because the Eagles might not be playing their starters. But if the Eagles want to get Saquon the record, yeah, you'll have no problem losing because he'll get 30 touches. They'll do what it takes. Unless he gets like 105 yards or 101 yards in the second half or in the first half, and then you're free to go win the game.
Yeah, one carry, Saquon 80 yards to the house, 2 10-yard carries, boom, you get it, you're out.
That would be like so best case scenario. Like, okay, game well, take it out the end zone, but go to like just run out of bounds like the 10-yard line. Saquon taking it 90 yards to the crib. Okay, we just let the Giants score. Saquon, you get right back in there. We get a 16-yard carry or whatever, and now we can just play ball with Tanner McKee. Demon. But yeah, I would say the Giants. The one I got from this one is that LSU just stamped the hell out of wide receiver U. Like, they just stamped it so hard, it is not even close anymore.
Man, we thought it was Ohio State.
I do want to say, I want to give a little grace to Olave and Garrett Wilson. If they had competent quarterback play, funny senses with Aaron Rodgers in it, maybe they'd be a little better, but it's not even close right now.
I would say Neighbors out there sporting Drew Lock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And Brian Thomas Jr. is out there sporting Mac Jones. That's the biggest difference between the two schools.
Pro Bowl Mac Jones, correct?
With the LSU guys, it just don't matter who's throwing that ball. It don't matter.
I mean, Justin Jefferson got Sam Darnold. You're right, but Sam Darnold's different.
Well, Sam Darnold's a beast now. Yeah. Even so, last year he hit 1K with Nick Mullins and friends. So. The Neighbors got to 1K with Daniel Jones and Drew Lock.
I'm going to let you know this. Drew Lock had the 7th best EPA per play quarterback game since.
He actually looked decent.
No, Chris. He had the 7th best quarterback game since like 2000.
He had decent. Like statistically, he had like the greatest game for a Giants quarterback ever. It was crazy. That's like Drew Lock like once a year. He looked. And guess who started the Colts defense in fantasy?
Chris, we're at the gym, and he goes, "We're at the gym right before the game. Yo, Colts defense versus Giants. This is about to be cake."
I ain't say all that. I said I'm starting it because, it's the Giants. But certainly it was not just the Giants that day. Malik Neighbors had something to say about that. My fault. Didn't know y'all just weren't big fans of Shadir Sanders. I should have known.
They said Shadir, take those cleats off. We're not going to get caught for tampering.
Yeah, and then the Colts, they're out of the playoff race now.
As they should be.
Yeah, as you should be. I mean, midway through the year, you bench your young quarterback. You lose 2 immediately and get yourself behind the 8 ball. You throw your guy back in. You start winning again. It's just a bunch of undisciplined things, bad organization things that led them to this point. Jonathan Taylor dropping the ball before the end zone. It's ruined a parlay here. It ruined a fantasy championship here. And honestly, it just made me disgusted. But it didn't actually have implications on me. I'm just grossed out. But they've done nothing all year to granted them a playoff spot, in my opinion. I do hope they can go into next year with a clear goal of what they want from Anthony Richardson. Because you kind of knew this was a raw prospect and you kind of punished him for that. But I think next year it's going to be his last chance, but I think he's going to figure it out. And then as for the Giants, I hope you enjoy Carson Beck or something, because you're not getting your hands on the other 2 guys. Just my thoughts.
Can't they still get Cam Ward? I mean, technically, if he doesn't, because the Giants are like 3 now, right? Or 4?
They're at, I can tell you right now. draft order right now is Patriots, Titans, Browns, Giants are at 4th. They could.
They would need the Browns to
The
pass
Titans are
on.
probably going to take a quarterback, if I had to guess.
Yes, I say we need the Browns to pass on one of the two.
And then the Browns are really up in the air because they just restructured Watson's contract, so it seems like he'll be back next year. But man,
imagine putting Abdul Carter next to Myles Garrett.
that would be nasty. That'd be very nasty.
I'll be there.
So the Giants do have a realistic shot to at least still get Cam Ward or even Shedeur Sanders, as originally compiled, assuming the Patriots take, but they're not taking quarterbacks. You don't have to worry about that. They got a guy. And then the Titans and Browns, we'll just have to see. The Panthers being at 6 is a pleasant surprise. Like Panthers being at 6 while Bryce has figured it out is a very pleasant surprise. They could just take a top talent, a top lineman. So the Raiders being at 8 is so brutal for them. That's so brutal. Okay, but nonetheless, also in the 1 o'clock slate, we could talk about.
You know what? I do want to mention
which blowout do we want to talk about?
Before we get to that, I do want to mention. I think it's funny how the NBA it has all this anti-tanking measures with the lottery system, while the NFL literally doesn't have any of that, and they still have teams like going out there trying to win. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's because the players don't care, and I like that. It's like the NBA. It's more like I don't want to say the players don't care. That's not true, but like it's kind of like an over the course of a season thing because there's so many less games in the NFL. It's like what we just talked about with the Giants. They just with one win went from here to here. So the NBA, it's kind of like a mindset thing all year, and the Raptors are doing a really good job at it. They're like competitively, they're just being really competitive, but they're just outskilled on a night-to-night basis. So, but you make a good
RJ
point.
Barrett.
Honestly, I'm not like the greatest fan of the lottery. Like, I don't want to say I dislike the lottery, but like the top 3 teams, how often do they get the top 3 odds? How often do they get the top 3 picks? The
Pistons been the worst team for the longest. Got 5th pick like 3 years in a row. So
yeah. Like the Pistons have had it rough. Dude. So it's and they're not going to hit it out the park in free agency. So, but let's move to this Jets Bills game where, of course, 40-14 on paper does not look interesting. The Bills run up in their crib and absolutely destroy them. Or I think they might have been home. I'm not sure, but it's New York all the same. But let's talk about this part. Aaron Rodgers benched himself. He benched himself. And, if a coach pulls you in a 40-0 game, that's fine. That's okay. But deciding that the backup quarterback gets to go out there that's very strange to me. That's very strange. And then you take this report with a grain of salt, but it's like, oh, maybe Garrett Wilson will request a trade if Aaron Rodgers is still here next year. I'm like, that looks really bad because they've kind of been, I want to say going at it, but there was things in training camp where Garrett Wilson was like, or Rodgers was like, it's here, and Garrett Wilson was like, well, if you were here, then you know that it's actually this and that. So they just look like an absolute mess. I might be getting sent-tailed. I did not double check the screenshot. I did not go to Sauce Gardner's Instagram to figure this out. But Sauce commented something. Somebody replied, "Tell T to come to New York," and then Sauce was like, "I will not be telling him that." And it's just like that could just him being funny. I don't know if that's him being like, nah, because like
it makes sense.
We not gonna be here. But
it makes sense though off the strength of today that interview that they showed, like when they were asking him those questions yesterday, and he was just like, it seemed like everybody's like kind of disconjointed or kind of gave up on the season already because we're not making the playoffs. So that make a little sense. I thought I got sent tail too, but I mean, from that, sounds possible.
Yeah, and I feel as all of this comes from the firing of Robert Saleh. They didn't start great by any means. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like even that team was far from discombobulated. Like the defense was still really strong and the offense had its sparks. There was just no reason to fire him. So they look like an absolute mess. Bills look like an absolute unit heading into the playoffs. Danny, do you have any words on either team? Yeah, I would say me and Danny share the award for fattest miss of the year. think you said the Jets were going to win the division. I said the Jaguars are going to win the division. Mine was a little bit of cope, maybe, for the Lawrence fan club. But yeah,
You
we
know
share
what?
that honor this year,
The
my
thing
man.
about it's not even all on Rodgers. It's the Jets organization.
Well, Rodgers burnt the organization to the ground, like, single-handedly. So I think I'm going to put, like, a big stake of it on him.
It's not all on Rodgers, what I'm saying. It's the head, the
Yeah, sure.
GM, the owner, the entire organization is at fault.
Yeah, the GM's at fault because he listens to Aaron Rodgers.
And he doesn't know how to bring a team in. This team is employing Alan Lazard as their wide receiver 3. And it was
because they listen to Aaron
2.
Rodgers. Everything will come back to Aaron Rodgers if you keep speaking about it. I promise. I'm telling you, everything will come back to Aaron Rodgers. Alan Lazard's out there playing for the team. They got Devontae Adams midway through the year, which isn't a horrible get, but why would you do that after you got Robert Saleh fired? Because Robert Saleh didn't want your buddy Nathaniel Hackett calling plays anymore. What was the point? You could have just changed the play caller and kept Saleh, and then you guys might be. You have the most like single-digit losses in the NFL this year, like behind the Bengals. You could still be fighting for this thing. So it's just mind-boggling. I hope the old man like retires and just do what he said he'd do. Retire, and we'll never hear from you again. I really hope so. You know how bad you got to be look worse than Jets Favre? That's ridiculous. So I want him out of here. I wish better for the Jets. Not that you can get Robert Saleh back. Maybe you can get Mike Vrabel, but what a mess. What a mess. Not much going on in the 1 p.m. slate. I mean, the Eagles played Tanner McKee, probably the best 4 passes to start an NFL career. Gardner Johnson, pick 6. Smitty had a big day. A.J. Brown chucked Tanner McKee's first touchdown ball, 40 seats deep, 40 rows deep. But he did get it back thanks to Delco Man, who I don't know his name, but
not Delco.
He's not Delco. Was he?
Cherry Hill, man.
Cherry Hill, yes sir. Yes sir. That's like Jersey's equivalent.
Shout out Paolini. He posted him. Apparently he knows him.
No way. That's pretty crazy, dude. That's pretty nuts. Shout out. Yeah, not much going on in that game. Really, the only 2 games we have left to talk about. Let's talk Vikings-Packers. So I asked you guys, I think this last week, Vikings, how do we feel about them as serious contenders on a scale from 1 to 10? 10 is they could win the damn thing, and 1 is they're losing their first playoff game.
Can I do 2 numbers?
Sure. And if they were, but
1 and 8. That's all they need. As long as they got 18 out there, oh boy. Okay. Where do I start?
I thought you were gonna have 2 different numbers based on what Sam Darnold shows up. I'm like, no. You have to pin your Darnold confidence on your chest.
Damn, Darnold could show up, and as long as Justin Jefferson's out there, I'm perfectly fine with whatever's going on that team. No, but I'll be aside though. They give me more hope because I would say Justin Jefferson was quiet for a while. They were still winning, still moving the ball, still looked good. And that was my thing. It was like, because Jettis is quarterback proof. We know that. But if Darnold has a bad game, then what? But I think this defense and team can withstand a rough Darnold outing. Just because of what they've seen. They have so many weapons. I think it's kind of low key because you think about Jettis and then everybody else. Hockenson could be a top 7 wide receiver. Jettis and Addison, top 5 duo, in my opinion, not just because of Jettis. I think Addison is really, really good too. And the defense is really good. And the dual threat back in Aaron Jones, which sometimes was better than others, but I think having that type of threat when you have, I guess you could still say unproven or uncertainty, I guess, at quarterback. I wouldn't even want to say that, but I think I kind of know what I'm trying to get at. Like having those type of outlets and safety valves, I think can go a long way. And with the defense that's playing as good as they have been, I'm kind of in. I think they've changed my mind over the last like maybe 3 to 4 weeks.
Danny, where do you stand? When we asked you this question last time, you weren't too confident in Sam Darnold. But what are you feeling now?
My answer remains the same in that it relies on Sam Darnold's ability to react to pressure in the playoffs. The Packers don't have the best D-line. They're okay at best. When they see the Eagles, when they see possibly the Bucs, when they see teams that have good D lines and can get pressure home to your quarterback, and it makes Sam Darnold be the playmaker and not just a distributor like Brock Purdy, what can he do?
It's funny you say that because in their last 2 games against the Falcons and Packers, who have abysmal pass rushes, you're not wrong. They were getting back there, and Sam was just flat out creating, making people miss, hitting the deep shots. Before this like 3-week run, you would look at it, it's like, oh, you don't want him holding the ball long. You don't want to force him to create because he's just going to end up making mistakes, and he's just done the complete opposite. He's just looked absolutely incredible. But I still do agree though. His reaction to pressure is going to be huge. And it kind of just comes to like taking sacks, throwing the ball away instead of just chucking something up to avoid the sack. Because that's where you leave it 50-50. Granted, Jefferson is down there somewhere, but you have no idea. So
let me put it here, though. My confidence of them being able to win the Super Bowl put them right up there with the Chiefs.
So about 7.5, 8?
7.5.
Yeah,
7.5, 7. Chiefs give more of like a 7.5, 8.
They're granted that because of who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Comes with the territory.
But I think, me knowing this personally, the Steelers' biggest issue is letting go Brian Flores and not making him their defensive coordinator 2 years ago.
Yeah. I want to give him an 8. I expect them to win a playoff game. They're probably going to face Detroit in the second round, or they beat Detroit next week and they get the first seed. I expect them to win a playoff game no matter how it's sliced. They'll either win a wild card game or the divisional game. My expectation for them is conference championship. It really is. And then anything past that, we're going to get into some really weird quarterback contract talks. But Darnold, yeah, I know we said this last week where like the story feels like the Case Keenum one, but Darnold is just so talented, which kind of just brings me to the 2018 quarterback class, stacked or not. I mean, like Darnold has finally come around. Baker's been around for about 2 years now. Really, Baker never left. It was just the Browns were on some weird stuff. Baker's always been around. Lamar and Josh Allen are in one of the best MVP races I think I've seen in quite some time, where you have Lamar, who and it's not by far, but he has all the numbers. And then you got Josh Allen, who is the peak definition of valuable for his team. So that's going to be absolutely incredible, especially because the Ravens got something to play for. I don't know if the Bills do, so they might sit their guys. So that just might give Lamar a chance to run up the numbers. But then again, I feel as if most MVP ballots are kind of decided by now. And I have no clue. I have no way. I really don't know which way to even lean, because for the longest time I was just going with Josh Allen because like I picked him before the year. I still do think he's more valuable, but Lamar is putting up such an incredible season. It's truly a phenomenal race. And if Joe Burrow gets in the playoffs, that's a whole nother thing that I don't think I want to entertain. I was considering for a little bit, but I'm like, nah. Like you had a fair share of 1-score games you could have won. That's, you shouldn't even be in this situation. But nonetheless, I'm confident in the Vikings, though. I am. And then let's get to this last game. The Commanders have clinched a playoff spot for the first time since 2020. No, 2020.
Taylor Heineke, baby.
Yep, since Taylor Heineke had to roll out there after finishing his finals and face off against the greatest quarterback who's ever lived. Daniels looked really, really good this game. Very impressed by him. His one interception was, I kind of saw it coming from a mile away when you see the outside linebacker start to drop in the coverage, but he knew immediately that was a bad throw, and he bounced back from it in a big way. Michael Penix had a big up and down day, a lot of just like bad misses that coordinate with his footwork. But you know what? Let's bring this question around one more time.
One more time. Well, say now.
Yeah. Commanders. How do we feel about them? They had like a little mid-season slide, losing to a couple really good teams, and they seemingly turn it around and they clinch a playoff spot with a week left to go. What's the confidence scale? 1 is their clear first round exit. I mean clear, like they're going to get blown out in the wild card, or maybe 10 is they could run the whole damn thing. I don't expect
5.
any 10s, by the way, but a 5, win a playoff game, maybe go out sad in the next one.
I think their best case scenario is winning a playoff game. But I do think part of them reminds me of young Joe Burrow making a run to the Super Bowl.
I can feel that a little bit. I think the defense is a little too bad, but
I agree.
I feel your energy there.
The Bengals defense was never. I mean, they had Jesse Bates and Von Bell, but they were never serious.
They had that. They had the take it wherever we want. The best iteration of Eli Apple, and they had real pass rush. I mean, that defense was certainly like it was there before they had to pay everybody. But DJ Turner, like it was a bit of a group, man. It was a bit of a group.
Imagine
4 interceptions on Ryan Tannehill. They were a group, man.
Not paying Jesse Bates.
That was dumb. That's a one of one decision. I can't lie.
It's just Cincinnati.
Say 5.
Cincinnati sports below.
Because the owners are broke. So
yep, exactly. They're gonna have to take a loan out to pay Jamar. Like
they should start taking out.
But do it though. Do it.
And they actually get enough for T. Higgins too. Just take out 2 loans. Get enough for T. Because you'd be a fool.
They're under the same agents now too.
And so you'd be a fool to, if you have any chance of keeping both, to not keep both. But I do understand football money is different. You really only can pay one top wide receiver at one time. I do get that. But damn,
not me.
If it's 2, I'd pay. Like if I'm the Eagles, it's no way on God green earth am I letting AJ Brown, Devontae Smith separate. Nah, but I have anything to do with it. So I wouldn't let this happen.
Because they weren't due for extensions past offseason, but they both signed for way under their value to stay around for 4 more years. So it's kind of, and AJ Brown is kind of seen as the what?
Christian said 4 more years.
4 more years.
Yep, 4 more years of Smitty and Brown. But it's widely known that Devontae Smith could, he could be the number 1 on some teams, but he chooses not to, and he sticks around for the wins, even on lower money. AJ Brown, well, a lot of people may not see him as that guy because he's arguing with his quarterback all the time. He's that guy as well. He's a guy who likes to win. And luckily, this entire Eagles team likes to win, so they're taking cheaper contracts left and right. I digress, though.
Y'all want to part about that? The AJ Brown Jalen Hurts thing? Nobody looked at it as like, oh, AJ Brown wants to win. He's just upset about what's happening. They just instantly went to, oh, he hates Jalen Hurts. They're not friends no more. It's like, bro, it's a sport. Have you ever played
but when Debo said that, oh, I just ain't getting the ball, no one's like, get that cracker Purdy. They're like, let's make fun of Debo.
Yeah, I was like, bro, it's like, your Debo's fat. I'm like, I mean, yes, he does look a little.
He is fat and he isn't good, but you just went straight to him. But with AJ Brown, you went right to his quarterback.
It makes no sense, dude. It makes no sense. But my bad, you was about to say something. Go ahead,
Purdy's definitely a cracker, though. What I was gonna say is, how do you feel about the Commanders? 1 is they get smoked in the wild card. 10 is they win the whole damn thing. Danny said 5, so they could probably win a playoff game. Divisional round will probably show them they probably shouldn't be here.
Well, you do know this. I do remember it was a time back then, long ago. I was talking about my old glorious nephew, Jaden Daniels. And now look at him.
Nephew, y'all the same age.
So yeah, I'm a fan of this team. And it's unfortunate because I kind of agree with you. I think they win the playoff game, and it's like they might get smacked that next game because like, all right, it's a little too early, young pup, like get out of there. But I don't know, man. It's just a fun team, and I think they're fun because you just don't expect anything's gonna happen. Like Jaden Daniels hasn't like ran ridiculous all year. Like maybe like 2 games. Yesterday he was just dropping back and running. He was dropping back and running. So I'm like,
that's his best quality as a runner.
100%. And I think that's what made it interesting. Like, it was just cool to see, just what was going on with this team. They have 19 running backs. They all get four carries a game. They play Denver Broncos running back room sometimes if it's not just Brian Robinson. I don't know. It's just a fun team, but I do agree. I think they can win a playoff game, but I think they might get smacked around by one of those other teams.
And you know what's best about the Commanders? They're fun. They're fun while being serious about winning. So last night, I'm pretty sure everyone saw this. Ertz had like $750,000 on the table. He had $750,000 on the table in incentives. They go into overtime on that last drive. Jaden Daniels spams Zach Ertz, and he hits his catches, his yards, and then his playoff bonus all in one drive. It was so cool. It's like he got paid. They're probably not going to sit next week because I think they don't have a chance to move up, but they don't want to move down. So they're probably going to want to win. Or I guess it depends who they want to. Never mind. They probably want to see
the Cowboys.
Bucks. So they're probably going to want to see the Bucks over the Eagles. If I had to make a guess, they've lost to both. They've beaten the Eagles. Who's the 3 seed? The Rams.
Rams.
Well, they'll definitely want to see the Rams over the Eagles. If I had to guess,
we'll see the NFC North loser play the Bucks most likely.
So unfortunate, man. Assuming the Lions win tonight, 14-3, or they'll both be 14-2. One of them's going to lose, be 14-3, and you don't get a single home playoff game.
You know
what's
crazy?
So brutal.
The crazy part is, who one of the 3 teams to beat the Lions this year? The Bucks.
There's the Bucks. That is true. Bucks, Bills, and what may or may not be the Vikings in Week 18, or the Niners tonight. Probably not.
98% of the money is on the Lions. Do that what you will.
You know what Vegas I'm going to do with that.
Vegas needs a San Francisco dub.
You know what I'm going to do with that information. But
absolutely
nothing. Real quick, actually, before we get on out of here, I just wanted to update you guys on what happened. We all locked the Celtics and they lost. So go figure. You guys weren't fooling me. I knew you did it out of bad juju. But
devil magic. And they lost again.
My
they lost
hot
the game
didn't
after
hit.
that too.
Chris's hot hit. And Danny's hot, I think, hit. The Lakers won, right?
Yeah.
Lakers Wolves won. Spurs lost. But Wemby gave me a masterclass. Who's the real winner here? As for the NFL, I said the Panthers would win. That didn't happen. They got smoked. But the Chargers did beat down the Patriots. Chris chose the Broncos as his high and the Browns as his lock. It's a marvelous 0-for-2 once again. And then Danny said the Pats would upset the Chargers. No. And then he said the Eagles would lock with the faith in Kenneth. And it came through. But that's everything we got for you guys today.
Give me some slack. Taking the Chargers in the upset is like the upset of the Chargers was a very, very hot take.
That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. I said the Panthers would beat the Bucks. We're kind of in the same boat. So
yeah,
that's everything from us, though. Again, reminder to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you're listening to this on audio platforms, leave a like, download, whatever helps move the algorithm. We hope you guys enjoyed the holidays. Again, really appreciate all the support, and we hope you had a good time with family and whatnot. But AP New Freezer, Coacher by Amigos, DC Comics. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all next week.
You have free time, go watch Squid Game.